In schools across the world, educators are navigating a new chapter in teaching, asking careful questions about emerging technology and evolving teaching practices, all while maintaining a focus on what students truly need. I'm Tom Driscoll, and in this episode, we join a professional development day at Sandwich Public Schools in Massachusetts, where teachers and school leaders have gathered to explore artificial intelligence in the service of student learning. During our workshop session together, educator Kelly Hart describes using NotebookLM to generate a visual graph, turning data into something meaningful that teachers can utilize. She explains that the poster will live in her coaching space. Also a reminder that a high-quality professional development system doesn't end when the sessions do during a PD day, but they continue through conversation and reflection throughout the school year.
Hi there, I'm Kelly Hart. I'm a math coach in a K-2 school. And this morning I did a presentation on increasing math talk. And what I used this tool to create this fantastic graph that I'm going to make into a poster for our school, as well as sending it out to the participants of my professional development.
Nice. And what did you use to make the graphic?
I've used NotebookLM.
Awesome. And what value does it provide?
Oh, this is incredibly valuable because I'm going to put a large poster of this in our coaching room. And as I meet with teachers once a week, we're going to be referring back to this so that the professional development isn't a one-time thing, but something that they're looking to integrate into their practice.
What emerges again and again is intention, not chasing trends, but rooting new tools in the district's values. That philosophy became clear in an extended conversation I had with Assistant Superintendent Dave Quinn, who sees AI as something that must serve mission before momentum. Hi, Dave. Thanks for welcoming me to Sandwich Public Schools.
Glad to have you.
So I'd just like you to share a little bit about, some of the things you're thinking as far as AI in your school district, but also the way you frame today's professional development day, and really the way that you're thinking about how you want to effectively think about AI with your staff and in developing their skills moving forward.
Yeah, so I think it's top of mind for all of our educators. It's one of the top, if not the top, choice for teachers in terms of communicating the need. I think it's really critical that we root our instruction in AI in terms of what will be about teaching and learning, and particularly for us in our mission and our vision. So our mission is that learners today, leaders tomorrow. And so how is AI in the service of creating our future generation of leaders? Our vision here is that we want to ensure that students feel like they belong, that they're growing, they have the chance to lead. Because we feel like in Sandwich, we feel like a long-term legacy that we need to fulfill here that creates kids and families who want to come back.
As Dave speaks, he returns often to the same anchors: belonging, growth, and leadership. Before debating policies or platforms, he wants educators to ask what kind of learning community they're trying to build.
So when we're thinking about AI, we're trying to think about the long term and what's enduring in life and in school. We come back to belonging, come back to growth, and come back to leadership. And so it's trying to frame AI in service of our mission and in service of developing leaders, and then, not letting it drive the horse here.
Interesting. So I love that last piece, don't let it drive the horse. What are some things that you would be cautious about, or that you would tell people to be cautious about it as far as AI integration?
Yeah, I think anytime you're in the poles of anything, you're liable to get yourself in trouble. So if you're, a total kind of rejectionist or total in fear of it, I think that's problematic because you can't see the affordances. If you're an AI enthusiast, right, it prevents you potentially from looking at a critical eye. So I'll just kind of give you a more concrete example. I had the benefit of growing up with an English teacher that was my mother. So when I had papers that I was writing, they were marked up with red ink. It was really frustrating for me, but I knew that I would have the feedback that I needed to have a really high quality essay. Was I writing it? Yes. Was I getting feedback? Yes, but it was coming from me. With AI now, everybody who doesn't have an English teacher at home has the opportunity to get some sort of feedback on their work so their ideas get polished and refined. That's the force. On the constraint here is I can put in a prompt and I can just have the AI write the essay for me, or write my piece for me.
Right.
And so I think one of the shifts that we'll probably see here is that the face-to-face that we're doing right now, although it's video, so is that AI generated?
We are not AI.
We are not AI. We're live. But I think that that's going to be really critical now, being able to actually speak to a topic and explain it, because the writing, which was a proxy for thinking, may or may not be movable.
That last piece that you just mentioned is interesting to say. Writing is no longer a proxy for like understanding. We could kind of argue that that's been like that for a little while, but no.
You could buy a paper off of like online, or you would pass it down. Yeah.
But instead of having like some essay mill write something for you, now kids can do it in 2 seconds. Yeah, right. So the practice of continuing writing isn't new, but it's so tempting. It's so easy for kids. So what are some of the messaging that you make for kids to say, like, look, it might be tempting to just offload all of your thinking to this machine? The tension is familiar. Opportunity on one side, temptation on the other. Dave uses writing as an example, asking how schools can preserve thinking while embracing new forms of feedback. How do we keep them away from that temptation?
So I think it's creating prompts or topics that people have something they want to say, right? So I think sometimes I was guilty of this when I was teaching. I was asking kids to write about things that weren't necessarily meaningful, or they didn't really want to engage in, because while it may have some value to adults, I hadn't necessarily communicated that to the students, and maybe it didn't. So I think part of it is starting with things that kids want to have a voice in, and that relevance piece they give it to the agency. I think on the flip side of how do you prevent them from, just outsourcing it to AI, I think you just start treat writing and communication overall the process. And so you're helping them refine the feedback, working with AI. It's in making the whole process transparent. And that when you're evaluating, it's less about the grade piece of it, but the embedded competencies that the student is using, and that you're seeing how that's evolved over time versus a one and done. So like maybe going to process and thinking, like, I'm reading Runberger recently, so just like an ethic of excellence, and how many times we do iterations to make sure we're getting it right. So it's like any sort of practice.
It reminds me of a story an English teacher told me in a district I was in recently, and they tell their students, like, if it's like, what's the point of what we're doing? And so if he had a lot of athletes in his class, because when you go to the gym, you're lifting weights up and down. That's what you're doing. But what's the goal? To get stronger. You could drive a forklift into the weight room and you can lift the weights up with the forklift. But what was the point? Right? Like, you're still lifting the weights up and down, but you're not getting stronger. So they're like, writing's like flexing that muscle.
Yeah.
So, you got to flex that muscle, and you can use AI to enhance it. But if you're just offloading it to the machine, like, what's the point? So the agency piece, the relevance, like, and that's been for like, kids are more likely to cheat when they don't find any value in learning. Adults, if you have an adult that's like, you need to do X, Y, Z to get it done, and they don't care at all about it, guess what? They're going to do whatever they can to pass that, whatever it is. Think about any adult certification that you've had to do that you don't care about. You're just clicking buttons. Yeah. So I think even with all this AI stuff, it comes back to that, what we've been talking about for years. And shout out to Scott McLeod on his work. But that idea of relevance and agency really should be the driver, even in the age of AI. Again, more.
And I'd go one step further, and this goes to the session you did today, but just like the authenticity, right? So how is the work that we're doing reflective of work that's outside of the school environment?
The conversation then shifts towards one of my favorite topics, and that has to do with relevance. How can we help students see how classroom skills connect to the real world? Dave suggests that AI can serve as a useful bridge between the academic work that they see in K-12 schools and professional practice that they would see out in careers.
I also think that helps teachers too, because it's hard for teachers to know about all the different career avenues and how this specific subject ties back to potential career avenues. So I think that's one of the powerful pieces for AI, not just the efficiency, but like I'm using this term loosely, as like a thought partner for it to help you to generate ideas that would allow to create the type of learning that would lead to more engagement, because it's relevant and authentic to work that, like, say, sells.
This comes a little bit more from the business world, but a lot of the groups that we work with that are on more of the tech company side of the house, they use the word SMEs all the time, the subject matter expert. Yeah, we need to bring in SMEs. Yeah, I'm thinking as a teacher, you could bring in SMEs through AI. Yeah, like, so say you're not a subject matter expert in architecture or engineering, but you teach a class where the skills would be useful. Yeah, you could bring in like an AI SME that has domain expertise in that area. Yeah, and that's one thing you're doing in our sessions. Like, if you teach a course that has a skill for engineering, like, how are engineers currently using AI? Yeah, coupled with that competency, and how could you share that with kids? Because that's the relevance. Like, you want to go into this field, they're using AI to do this in this field, and then you can, even if you can't replicate it in class, like, the JELMA, like everything's at like the junior level, but yeah, it'll work. That concept of engineers are using AI for this right now in the world. How could we create like an educational layer version of it? Yeah, right. We don't really know that yet, but I think there's enough use cases available that teachers can pull from now, where I think we could at least start doing some of that.
Yeah, I think just trying to treat this work as iterative, not to have, I think that's the problem in schools. The problem in school, in part, is that while we are a learning organization, I think we also are an answer organization, and we want to have a right answer. But I tend, that's challenged too, because, parents and communities give us their most precious gift, their children, right? And we want to make sure that we're doing it right. But we also have to like really get back to our roots as a learning organization, and that we're continually reflecting on how it is that we're approaching teaching and learning, and the tools that we're using in a thoughtful, optimistic, and critical way.
Okay. All right, we're going to get you out of here on this, which is a PTI, but I think Kornheiser says, well, okay, we're going to get you out of there. Oh, if you were to give any advice or thoughts to a school leader that's trying to help educators become more confident and comfortable in the AI age, what's one piece of advice that you'd like to share?
Call EdTechTeacher. That's true. And also, I think in all seriousness, that it's helpful to have an external thought partner to help come and facilitate the conversations. But I also think it's easy to do a top-down policy. But I think communally, you need to decide what it is that you value as a school community, and what are the constraints of how students can use it.
In the end, the message circles back to trust. Trusting teachers to experiment, and trusting communities to shape their own boundaries. Not perfection, progress.
You have a challenge where different rules apply in different classes. So if a kid sees 7 teachers in a given day, or a part of a seven class cycle, you may have like 7 different interpretations, and that's really confusing, really challenging, and really frustrating for a kid, and they're super frustrating for an adult. So anybody see an office space with all the different bosses, like, can relate. So I think that's it. Like, trying to come up with guidelines, recognize that you're not going to get it precisely right, and then you're going to need to continue to calibrate it.
Yeah. And so really just communicating the message that we are just figuring this out together, and that's okay. I love that. And I agree. I think educators are really going to be the architects of this.
Yep.
They're the ones on the ground experimenting with kids. It's really our job to help provide them with the environment where they feel safe, that they can try new things within certain guidelines, and feel that they're supported.
Yeah, I think this feels a little different. And our mutual friend Beth Holland and I, we had a session one time about rapid change in Back to the Future. And if you look throughout a lot of literature, but particularly education literature, in every era, people think they go through an era of rapid change. So like, the change is not necessarily new to us. So try to figure out what we can ground in enduring and letting the technology serve as a tool towards our endeavors versus shaping out. So I think this is the biggest key.
Dave Quinn,
always great to see you.
Pleasure. Until next time. All right. In Sandwich, the work is not finished. And that's the point. Educators are learning together and modeling the same curiosity that they hope to instill in their own students. Through this series, we'll continue visiting innovative schools across the world, walking alongside teachers as they build what comes next. See you next time.